Hello everybody. Thank you to be connected to our webinar. This webinar organized by the Transformational League. My name is Julien Lever, and one of the managing partners of Juliet Starwen consulting firm. Perhaps for people who don't know what is the Transformational League, I'm going to give you some few words. And just after, I will let the floor to Youssef, who is going to be the MC, the master of ceremony of this webinar. When we founded the Transformation Link 3 years ago, the idea was to gather independent consulting firms specialized in business consulting transformations across the globe. So for now, as you can see on the map, we are several consulting firms based in Europe, in North America, in Australia, in Asia, in Africa, in South America. Why those locations? Because we strongly believe that we think and work smarter on a global landscape, and this is our main goal. So by sharing our research and development, our value, our diversity, we would like to provide our clients some inspiring, stimulating experience and creative solutions with the support of a global network all over the world. So thank you to our international guests to be connected with us this morning. And now I leave the floor to Youssef. Youssef, at you.
Yes, thank you very much, Julien. Can you hear me well? Yeah?
Yeah.
Excellent. So yes, we're very happy to be hosting this webinar around data and AI. The idea behind this webinar for our audience is that we know AI is probably the next revolution. We understand there is no impactful artificial intelligence without data strategy, without making sure you have clear data quality, data management processes. So we wanted to come up with specific examples and pieces of advice on how AI can help in a moving environment, how you can use artificial intelligence to understand new trends, to optimize your processes, or differentiate yourself. So we have the chance today to have great and knowledgeable guests on the topic with Bernard Tai, who is Singapore country leader and Southeast Asia head of Amazon Global Selling. We have also with us Ludovic Demnati, who is the group chief digital officer of Eramet, as well as Mosahab Bakdouri, who has been a lead data scientist for Walmart. So to give you a bit more color on this webinar, we will structure it in 3 parts. The first part is around business strategy and transformation to understand what trends we've seen during the crisis and how organizations and businesses have transformed before or during the crisis to adapt. So we'll go through all 3 organizations, discuss with our guests to understand that. The second part of the webinar will be a deep dive into specific examples of how AI and data can help understand changes on your client side, how you can use these tools to monitor transformation and drive your strategy. It's very important for us here that we come up with specific examples so that you can carry them home and try to implement them as well on your side. And that's the third part. Third part is about implementation. How can you scale AI? How can you move from the proof of concept to an impactful use case? Because it's easy, I mean, the idea here is to try to understand how easy it is to implement these strategies and technologies and how we can make it or leverage it. So at the end of each part, we will pause to answer questions from the audience. And we want this session to be interactive as much as possible during the 1-hour webinar. So please do ask questions. We'll take your questions and try to answer them. Now let's start with our first part on business strategy and transformation. And maybe with Ludovic. After maybe presenting Eramet, for those who are not familiar with the company, if you can tell us a few words on how your company has faced the crisis, how you have adapted to it before and during the crisis and the trends you've seen.
Yes, hello Youssef, hello everybody. So my name is Ludovic Donati, I'm Chief Digital Officer of Eramet. Eramet is a mining and metallurgical company. We are making about 4 billion euros sales per year. We have about 13,000 people around the world, and we are on the whole value chain of mining on metals. We are extracting and producing nickel in New Caledonia and Indonesia. We are producing manganese in Gabon. Manganese is used to make carbon steel, so steel for construction. We are also present in Norway, in France, in the USA to make manganese alloys. And we have a new facility of lithium extraction that will come in the coming years in Argentina. So we are positioned on nickel, manganese, lithium. We are well positioned to be one of the providers of the energetical transitions in the coming years for metals for batteries. Our second activity is to produce high performing alloys, and we are present for that in France and in Sweden. For instance, where you are traveling with a plane of Boeing or Airbus, you are traveling with Hermet because almost one piece like landing gears are building by Hermet. And this is for the anecdote. So the question for us in 2017 was how to make digital when you are in an island at the middle of Pacific, New Caledonia, to make digital in Gabon when you are in the Gabonese rainforest at 500 kilometers of Libreville, or in Argentina. And so with that, we defined our global digital transformation strategy in 3 axes. We want to connect geology to economy and to be more accurate when we are extracting ore and related with the prices of metals, nickel, manganese, etc. We want to optimize our process with big data and artificial intelligence. And finally, we want to ensure quality and traceability of our products from the extraction or the elaboration to the client. And with this strategy, we define also what are the best infrastructure that we need. So for instance, in 2017, we didn't have cloud technology. We didn't have IoT or AI. And with this strategy, we put in place all these infrastructures. So it's still in course, of course. But during the crisis of the COVID-19 this year, I would say that we will be better prepared that if this crisis could occur in 2 or 3 years ago. And this allows us to give some insights to people. So for instance, today you have the KPIs of the mine production in New Caledonia directly on your smartphone. So you can make decisions even if you are remotely. You can also, we are using artificial intelligence to better monitor our furnaces to produce ferronickel or ferromanganese, so manganese and nickel alloys. And I would say that with this strategy and this vision of transformation, we will be better prepared to be more accurate during the crisis. And this was really helpful for people in our assets.
Okay, yeah, very interesting. So at the end of the day, you've been able to manage somehow this crisis through the preparation you've done before that, and it's been like a key factor as well. Excellent. So maybe this question is for you, Musab. Now, I think we're going to move from the mining industry to the retail industry, and from Europe and the African forest to the US. I understand, Musab, you've been leading some of the data science and AI work for Walmart in their labs. But maybe before getting to the details of what you've done, can you tell us a bit more about how the labs has been developed and has created value throughout the company and for the customers?
Yes, thanks, Yusuf. Hi, everyone. I'm Musab. I'm glad to be with you today, sharing some insights I have learned with while leading a few machine learning projects with the Walmart Labs, especially within the search team. But as a disclaimer before I start, I'm not here officially representing Walmart. I'm just sharing my personal perspective and experience. So Walmart's mission is to help people save money so that they live better. And automation, and in particular AI, has played a crucial role to fulfill this mission by both reducing the operating costs, passing some of the savings to customers, and improving the overall customer experience. The labs, Walmart Labs, was originally created following a 60+ person acquisition in 2005 as a technical innovation lab based in the Silicon Valley to build and test new technology for Walmart.com. Its scope was expanded to include Walmart e-commerce and store technology teams. And today, Walmart Labs employs over 6,000 engineers, data scientists, and product managers in different locations in the US as well as in Bangalore, India. One of Walmart Labs teams is working on customer technology to serve customers throughout their shopping journey in stores and online. For example, the team developed a retail voice agent to allow customers conduct seamless conversations and to offer products based on personal preferences and past orders. A computer vision based app helps customers search for products using their cameras when they cannot express their need in plain language. The merchant technology team oversees online and in-store search, pricing, catalog, content, inventory, and fulfillment technology to provide the optimal experience for merchants. For this team, for example, large-scale machine learning algorithms are being used to forecast daily demand in each of nearly 5,000 stores in the US, leveraging cross-country and multi-year seasonal data. And the supply chain technology team builds the scalable and flexible technology that powers hundreds of distribution centers and provide thousands of drivers and partners with the tools they need to get the right items on time in the right packaging to customers. So these are some of the areas where the labs are creating value throughout the company and for customers.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Musa. I think it's impressive the numbers you've mentioned in terms of engineers and in terms of lab people working on these topics. And we'll go into the details of that. You'll give us a bit more examples on what you've done, specific examples, because I think it's a very data-driven company as well, Walmart. But before that, maybe we'll move on to Bernard Tai. I think, Bernard, would be interesting to hear your point of view as well on how things have been driven on the Amazon side, especially since the e-commerce has been driving so many businesses over the last year in particular. So what are the trends you've observed and the new norms you have seen during COVID times around business transformation?
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Bernard Tai. I'm actually heading the global selling team in Singapore, and I'm Singapore. So, you guys can hear me? Sorry, somebody try to. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yep. So what basically we do is we empower the sellers, merchants in Southeast Asia, and try to bring them on board and sell through in our marketplaces around the world. We have about 15 or 16 marketplaces around the world. And in the past, maybe 12 months, probably you guys are already being very aware of. There's a new norm coming up. Consumers are buying more online. You have a new customer base popping up and growing very fast. What we have found out is in around this region, 1 in 3 of the customers are new, for example. And we also found that 94% of them are going to stick on these new digital services once they get on board. And even the behavior kind of evolve when they spend online. To give you an example, when the COVID had to happen, it was basically the basic necessity items that you will buy online, like food, maybe pastas, stuff like that. But as the months goes by, more and more variety of the things starts popping up. You get people that need to start to work from home. They start to get buying chairs, tables, monitors, headsets that we are using right now, and going on the virtual conference that we are doing right now. And now, interestingly, to maybe it's a holiday season, so getting into the holiday mood, people are buying much more variety stuff. Maybe massage arm for you, some gym equipments. So even then you can see that the evolve of the customer demand has really gone a widespread of items, I would say. And this, what does this new norm means to the retailers then? Because the traditional retailers actually may not be aware of this buying behavior, and by not getting online as well. And in that sense, these retailers need to kind of reinvent themselves to kind of like see the trends and get online to kind of like address a new entitlement of customers and consumers. And by getting online, learning on how to open an online store, and sharing about to kind of surface their products later on, which I will share how their products can be searched upon and surface to the customers, maybe not only domestically, but also across the borders, so that customers from around the world can actually buy the products from the merchants from Southeast Asia. I'll just take a pause here.
Yeah, sure. I think Amazon is probably one of the companies that is gathering so much data around customers. You must probably have like an invaluable set of data, and I think we'll dive into the second part shortly, and you'll come up with examples of how to use that data, how to leverage it. But before that, let me just have a little introduction of Julie, who will maybe tell us if there's any specific questions you've seen from the audience or questions to ask to our guests at the end of this first part.
Yes, thank you, Youssef. Indeed, we have one question from the audience. How much of the transition is an internal process, and how much do you need to be advised by experts to set up a data or AE lab?
Okay, so I think it's probably a question for Ludovic and Mossab here. I think the idea is to say, okay, you've been going through a transition before this crisis, whether it started in 2017 on your side, Ludovic, or whether it started earlier on your side, Mossab. How much of that was an internal process, as in the company just decided to do that, and you have all the skills to do it internally? How much you need to be advised by experts, and how much is that of a complicated process? Is that that is the question, I think, yeah. Ludovic, you want to start first?
Yeah, it's a good question. At the beginning of 2017, I was alone to say, okay, what could be a digital transformation for Eramet? So we worked with a lot of experts. Yes, that's right. And then we decided, related to the vision, what would be the best organization for a mining and metallurgical group like us, that is in about a lot of countries, with some subsidiaries with not too much people, because in New Caledonia we are about 2,000 people, in Gabon 5,000, in France 5,000, so it's not so much. And what is the best organization and the best competencies we need for this type of really decentralized group? So we decided to put in place a digital and data factory. We are about 50 to 70 experts. On these experts, about 10, so it's around 15%, I would say 15 to 20% are internal people. So we created some new jobs at Eramet: data scientist, data engineer, UX designers that didn't existed already, and we are working with the best partners we have for each project. So we have created a lot of partnerships with council firms, with people in charge of data, and we are also working with startups. So I would say we have created a lot of rates with different type of companies, a lot of startups also. We are also working locally to develop some digital ecosystem locally in Gabon, for instance, or in New Caledonia, to help us. So we didn't want to be so much people in charge of digital transformation within the group, but we want to work closely with the digital ecosystems where we are. I don't know if it's sufficient like answer.
No. That's very helpful, very interesting. Yes, thank you. And all clear, yeah. And what about Walmart, Musab? The idea is you've started probably earlier this transformation. I think it's very technical. I mean, strongly technical oriented in terms of different teams you have. Do you drive the strategy internally, or do you have expert outside of the company that is driving it? How does that work?
Oh, so I think it really depends on the maturity of the company, right? And where things are. So back at the time, I was not with Walmart at the time, but it also made a decision that, hey, we need to go fast, right? We need to start innovating fast. So that was like this decision of acquiring an existing startup that was already doing research in data, and especially like e-commerce driven data. So that's one approach. It's just like you could also go organically. You could go with external partners. It really depends on where you are right now.
Okay. So very kind of an agile process, but we'll deep dive also into collaboration, specific examples, Ludovic on the startup side, and you must have on some of the projects you've done. I think in the interest of time, I suggest we move on maybe to the second part, so we can fit in an hour session. So on the second part, it's mainly about client and business monitoring here. So we've talked about Eramet being an upstream player in the mining industry. We know that new regulation will probably impact the sector in terms of certifications around sustainable and green mining. But at the end of the day, this is a key differentiator factor for you, as well as a data quality and a data process topic, because you need to source your data, source your mines, and understand where they're coming from. So maybe here to start again with you, Ludovic, would be interesting to hear what you are currently working on at Eramet in terms of client and business monitoring, with as much as you can specific examples, so that our audience can really understand a bit more clearly what's being done here.
Yes, I can give you two examples. On the mining part, as I said, we will provide metals for energetical transition and batteries. And one of the differentiator where Eramet would want to be is that we want to ensure the traceability of our metals, to ensure that in terms of CSR policy, we are very good. And we minimize a lot of our environmental impact, our relationship with community. And for that, we are working on data governance, on data strategy, how to recover the data to ensure and to give a label that we are good in terms of CSR policy. And the batteries you will use with nickel or lithium is certified that with good and strong standard policy in terms of environment and community relationship. This is the first example. The second one is regarding alloys that we are producing on our high-performing alloys division. High-performance alloys division, we are producing high-speed steel. This is used for a lot of industries like automotive or aerospace. And we are a B2B to B2C sector. And on this sector, we have not really a good sense of relationship with clients like could have Amazon or Walmart, I think. And we decided to work with our clients. An example of clients which is also a B2B2C client, and we decided to see, okay, what could be the best way to work together, on what do you need exactly in terms of data. So of course you need data for quality, etc., but you need also data like if you are ordering on Amazon. I would say what could be the lead time. Where is you are making alloys? Okay, are you late? Are you okay? And when I will give, when do you will give the alloys, etc. So we worked a lot on how to improve the relationship and to use digital to improve the relationship with our clients and to give more data for that.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. Yeah. I mean, you making the transition easy here for me. Thank you, Ludovic. But I think it's also interesting, as we have here Bernard from Amazon, to understand. We've been talking here about logistics, about tracking deliveries, about getting closer to your clients, and I think Amazon has done an amazing job at this over the last years, and really performing at that. I think the floor is yours here, Bernard, to tell us a little bit more about the analytics tools you have, the online marketplace, how you help understand local clients, and what you've been doing on that field.
Yeah, I think one of the key points is I think when retailers first start to dabble with it on going online, they probably do not know what are the data inputs that they need. It's probably the first time they are trying to understand the local demand, for example, in EU, what kind of products they buy and what kind of information that they can gather, or what kind of information should they look into, because selling offline and selling online is a totally different way of managing the business. So what we normally provide as a seller service, where we empower them to scale, is basically to get them to provide them some helps in terms of the dashboard, showing, for example, this particular item, as simple as daily volumes, daily units, and stuff like that. But what we can add on, which is different from offline, is basically looking at the traffic data that is online coming through. What kind of, say for example, during the 24 hours, your product is being viewed at which period of the time most, for example, and then how much conversion that you manage to convert from the views to the purchase, and is your pricing competitive? These are the things that we would be giving to the online retailers coming on the first time, and they will be first time looking at all this data. They will probably be overwhelmed with it. So what AI can come in is actually to recommend, this is how you can do it, and this is how you should position your product, and this is how you will bid for keywords, this is how you will put the pricing correctly, for example.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. I mean, it's been an interesting point as well, because I think what we're talking about here is how to use like artificial intelligence for recommendation engines, and mainly the idea here is how can you scale and how can you use large scale mining of transactional data. So you have a huge amount of data, and now you want to take intelligence out of it and help your company and your clients make the right decisions. And then in terms of large scale mining of transactional data, I think, Musab, you've been working a lot on this very topic, whether it's through the usage of Twitter to understand customer needs, or whether it's through the importance of search queries, or actual machine learning examples of customer satisfaction monitoring, or business health. So let's maybe take some time here and deep dive into specific examples and things you've put together at Walmart using machine learning, using transactional data with actual outcomes.
Right. So Walmart is indeed relying on machine learning heavily to monitor the overall business health and customer satisfaction. And one way this is accomplished is through outlier detection. So sometimes this is based on large-scale mining of transactional data. For example, during a recent Halloween season, and looking at real-time sale data across all of the stores, it was noticed that a specific cookie that was popular across all Walmart stores was not selling at all in 2 stores. And so this is the thing. So like detecting using this large-scale transactional data to find an outlier. And then upon investigation, it was found that a stocking oversight caused these cookies to be not put on the shelves. So and that's how it was immediately addressed. And more advanced approaches leverage recent innovations in computer vision algorithms. For example, some stores automatically assess the volume of customers waiting to check out, so that the number of open registers is adapted accordingly. And in another example, store cameras track the discoloration of bananas across the day, sending an alert to replace them when they become too brown to be kept on the shelves. Also, object recognition is also used to identify abandoned shopping carts and alerting staff to take care of them. Personally, my work within the AI space has been mostly related to applications of information retrieval and natural language processing algorithms. And an example is some work I've done before joining Walmart, which was sponsored by Qadar Foundation. So our team's goal was to build some tools that Arab journalists could use in their daily work. And as a prerequisite to building such tools, we started by studying this population, Arab journalists. So we collected and analyzed over 2 billion tweets to look at how journalists from different regions and media types interacted with their audience on Twitter. And one of the interesting findings that we were not able to discover with traditional methods such as surveys is a high contrast in usage pattern between Arab and British journalists. So in particular, while British journalists had a targeted and engaging two-way communication with their audience, we found that Arab journalists were more likely to restrict their communication to a one-way broadcasting behavior. In other words, British journalists use Twitter as a source and destination for news, while Arab journalists cared most about branding themselves. But what was really interesting in this study is that most of the work was just about identifying the target population and collecting the 2 billion tweets. Once that was done, then very simple statistical tools were available and sufficient to make those conclusions. In another project sponsored by IBM, I looked at how we can detect information needs within a natural conversation. So typically, information seekers would go to a search engine or explicitly call a smart virtual assistant like Google Home or Alexa before expressing their need. But an alternative I propose is an agent that would be actively listening to user conversations and identify which pieces of those conversations represent an information need before attempting to satisfy them. And this was achieved by a cascade of natural language classifiers combined with a specialized search engine. So these are some ways that we can automate like monitoring the business and the customers.
Great. I think you've given us a lot of examples. Thank you. I think it's very interesting either on the computer vision side or the natural language processing side, different sides and different use cases. And we'll have a third part where we're going to go into how easy is it to implement that? Does it take time? Does it cost a lot? Because it's also for our audience a question of, okay, you have huge companies like Amazon, like Walmart. Maybe you have a huge set of, data scientists to do that, and we'll discuss that also with Ludovic on Eramet. How easy was that to implement? But maybe before we jump into this last session, maybe Julie, if you have any questions from the audience that have been asked around the second part.
Yes, many interesting questions from the public, including one several times for Bernard. Which technology or digital project brought the most value to your company?
Okay, I think there are quite a number of technologies that's been implemented and been shared with the sellers. I think if I have the kind of numbers, we have about 200 over innovations that has been in place. I think one of the common, I would say, innovation that has been shared is how we manage our warehouse inventory. Where we have the items are not like what you see placed according to the categories of the products. They're putting in all different places, and you have the caviar robots that actually move the shelf around in optimal space and delivering bringing that product to the collector point where they will pack and pick and pack and ship to the customers. This kind of optimize the space of the warehouse that you need to use on it. And this also optimizes the speed where the product is being picked and packed once the order is being placed. So this is one of the innovations that has been kind of like implemented in different parts of the FCs that we have. I think the latest one was that we'll be introducing it to Australia in the near future.
Great. Any other interesting question you wanna raise here, Julie? If you have a couple minutes before we move to the last session.
Okay. I thought it was earlier, but we had a question for Mossab. In your company, how often data are forecasted?
Say it again. How often is?
Are forecasted.
Like a lot. So like it's really like so for the stores, like for every single day, in every single store, predictions are made for the demand, so that we bring the right amount of merchandises to sell. So that's one of them. But it's also like for e-commerce, like making a forecast for the holiday seasons, or every single day like forecasts are made for both the stores and online sales.
Good. So let's maybe move to, I suggest we move to the last part, and then we take some of the questions at the end, so that we can, in any case, come back to any part if that's useful. The last one is around implementation of innovation or AI use case in implementation. The idea here is now we have a better understanding of business strategy, how you can monitor your clients, the different use cases you've used, the different technologies you've used. But practically, does it take time? Is it easy? Because the question is, how do you move from a POC, so a proof of concept, to a larger scale product with more impact? So if you have any examples, or if you can just, take us along the way of the different changes you've done in your companies, how long it took, and what is the best way to implement them. Maybe we can start with you, Ludovic. I think you've mentioned collaboration with startup. Is it something you've done? Was it successful? How long it took? And yeah, if you could give us a bit more color on practical changes.
Yes, exactly. One of the objectives for an old industrial company is to go faster and faster in terms of digital transformation. I can give you an example of maintenance. Maintenance is key on industrial side because we want to avoid failures and breakdowns. So, for instance, using IoT, we can avoid that and to make predictive maintenance. So we put in place an operating model in order to ensure that when we are doing a proof of concept, we are related to the vision and the strategy of digital transformation first. We have people in charge of this project that could give us KPI and to check that if the results were good or wrong, and a planning, a schedule, in order to be sure that in 3 or 4 months we will have results. Then, for instance, for predictive maintenance, we put 10 IoTs in place on New Caledonia in our plants to produce ferronickel. And 3 months later, we obtained very, very good results. Then we decided to deploy that on all of our facilities and plants around the world. So we make a partnership with a startup, and we deployed about thousands IoT in Norway, in New Caledonia, in Senegal, in Gabon also, in the USA. And we obtained very good results. We have about more than 1 or 2 million euros this year of avoided failures. So this is really helpful for our production, and this was also helpful during the COVID-19 crisis, because when you are in New Caledonia or in Gabon, it's quite complicated to produce without spare parts or inventories, It was quite difficult. Another example is regarding AI on metallurgy. So metallurgy, for instance, nickel production, you can imagine about a very big furnace, about 3 or 4 steps with a lava. It's ore at 1000 degrees Celsius, so it's really hot. It's really energy consuming, but it's necessary to produce alloys that will be helpful for a lot of applications. And we decided with people in charge of metallurgy to say, okay, we will take your knowledges, we'll put that on algorithms, and we will give you some insights to help you to have a better way to manage the furnace and to have prediction of risks in order to decrease the energy consumption and to optimize the nickel yield. And we did that using design thinking methodologies. So really our internal client was a metallurgist. And today we have some algorithms that are connected directly into the productions, and as the results were very good, we have energy consumption decreases. We also have a better yield. We are deploying that on all our alloys production facilities. So we're deploying that in Norway. We will do that also in the USA in the coming years. So this is an example also of doing the proof of value on the proof of concept. We are then deploying that in our all of our facilities.
Yeah, that's very interesting. These were like very successful use cases you've implemented, because if I get the numbers right, you were talking about, at least at the first example, 1 to 2 million saved costs on maintenance and about 3 months for a pilot project, which sounds very interesting. And that's great. Maybe I have the same.
Just to add, we didn't. I didn't say that we have a lot of failures also in terms of proof of concept, and this is really important to have an acceptance of success, but also on failures of projects. In an industrial company, it's quite difficult because engineers want to go directly to the best solution, the best way to do, and having this other type of approach, the acceptance of failures, and sometimes it's not working, it's really key. And we are working on that, on mindset, on shift on mindset.
Yeah, very interesting. I think this acceptance of failure, shifting your mindset, and understanding that you can fail once, but you can make it happen the second time, and it's just a change of mindset of the company. Yeah, maybe Musab, I think the question is the same for you here. How did it work for you in terms of turning a proof of concept into an impactful use cases? What we can leverage in terms of easy open source models, and whether you've seen also, of course, I guess, successful projects, but also how you move on from failures to successful projects.
Yeah, I can share with you a particular project with Walmart. So to give you some context, so for product search, the customer intent might be well beyond just the words used to express the query. And let's consider like these two simple queries, like Duracell battery and Honda battery. So both of these queries are syntactically expressed as brand plus product type, right? However, in one case, the customer is interested in a battery produced by Duracell, right? While in the other case, they are more likely to be looking for a battery compatible with a Honda car. So we can also look at these two queries from a brand affinity point of view. So let's say we are out of stock for Duracell batteries and Honda batteries, right? In the first case, we can easily propose a substitute, maybe a Sony battery instead of Duracell. But as soon as, like, just imagine you show Tesla batteries while the customer is looking for Honda batteries. I mean, they'll probably feel insulted, right? So this is just to motivate the importance of query understanding in e-commerce search. So in 2017, the search team as Walmart Labs was building a query understanding component based on like dictionaries or like lists of brands and the regular expressions. So dictionaries would be used for attributes like brand and color. You have a list of brands and list of colors, while regular expressions are primarily used for numeric attributes like size and age, quantity. But it didn't take too long before coming across some serious limitations of this approach. For example, this component would produce two understandings for the word red in query Red Bull, right? So one for the color and the other one for the brand. And we didn't have any systematic or probabilistic way for eliminating a bad understanding. So we turned to recent advances in deep learning, especially in natural language processing and named entity recognition. So there are some techniques to address this problem. And what was nice is it took us just a few weeks to adapt an existing open source tool that was originally built for the news domain, basically identifying whether Washington in a particular context is the state, the city, the university, or the first president of the United States. So we took that. I mean, it was available on GitHub, and it was under a business-friendly license, and we made it suitable for query understanding for e-commerce. And the quick success of this proof of concept shifted the focus of the entire team in several ways. First, query understanding and attribute detection became a central component of the search stack on Walmart.com. Second, new applications and internal consumers emerged from this component. And third, more deep learning models found their way to search. But besides this quick success, what I like the most in this project are two things. First, you only need the manual annotation, that is the labeling, indicating which word means brand and which word means size and things like that. So you only need the manual annotation of a few thousand queries for a good start. Of course, you can always keep improving with more data later on. And second, there is room for helping the model to fix some errors and improve itself with very little help. I remember, for example, that the model was incorrectly identifying king as a size for the query California king mattress. If you are not familiar with the domain, king and California king are two slightly different sizes of mattresses, and that's similar to the difference between A4 paper and letter paper. So the model started with one single annotation we added to our list of training data. The model started to understand California king as the appropriate size with just that single annotated query, but it also generalized correctly to California queen, which is another size. And interestingly, it correctly did not predict California prince to be a size. So that's just a made-up query. There is no California prince size, and that the model did not predict California prince as a size. So that was cool. So in summary, so few things I want to highlight. So first, the ability to leverage existing open source projects into a quick testable proof of concept. The relatively small human involvement in collecting useful data, the model's capability for making reasonable generalization, and the possibility to intervene easily to improve the model. All of these show or demonstrate the low entry barrier to integrate promising machine learning models in multiple potential applications.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I think it was operationally very interesting to understand that you can drive the strategy, but you need to make sure that operationally what you're doing makes sense, and you can have hurdles there, but you can overcome them with a lot of the improvement of some of the models, new technologies around deep learning, but also some of the open source libraries. So it's making it easier for other companies to start doing this type of use cases. Now let's move to Amazon and Bernard Chai. I think the idea here is probably that Amazon is one of the giants that has made data science and artificial intelligence as impactful as it can, thanks to the huge amount of knowledge you have gathered about clients. And the idea here is to understand what you've implemented internally and how you can monetize this amount of knowledge you have and processes you've put within Amazon for that.
Yeah, maybe I can share how we kind of like help kind of a rather mid-size, mid to large size handicraft seller in Vietnam, how we actually empower them to scale globally. I think when they started off talking to us, they were sharing that they would like to expand globally and get access to customers around the world. And we decided to onboard this Vietnamese seller. They're selling very much like, if I recall, it's probably more than 100,000 unique products, all handicrafts. And they were in domestic business. They were large in domestic business. They were selling in bulk quantity in B2B business. So they want to go on to a digital transformation where they want to go to online and address a bigger entitlement of the global business. But then they have very limited because it's a like traditional family run business in that sense. So we kind of like need to take them through how the onboarding process is, and we also kind of like share with this particular merchant is what kind of data that they can process. And to give you an example, they were coming in with a very strict model of they want to fulfill the product from Vietnam to US by themselves. Imagine that they will be doing not bulk shipments to US, they are doing B2C shipment one by one to each of the customers in US. We were advising them not to do that, but they would like to go ahead with that. In the end, they found packaging was an issue, cost was an issue, the delivery experience accuracy was an issue. And with all these inputs, they do not have a better way of managing the data, because it was not in the data dashboard, in the sales dashboard that's coming out within their service and tools that they were provided, because they were using their own independent fulfillment routes, and it was not integrated in that sense. So right now, as of today, 50% of their business done by fulfilled by Amazon. And what they have changed, what we have convinced them to change, is not the whole 100K of ASINs. You understand where the demands are. You already got the data where maybe the top 10% of your products are highly wanted by the Americans. Put them in a warehouse in US with us. That you can get more data in terms of the customer behavior, and also you can enjoy the kind of like 24 hours customer service that we provide. And this is how we empower the sellers, by letting them know that if they use the fulfillment centers that we provide, they can get more information. For example, the last mile delivery, and we can also help them to shorten the customer promise, improve the customer experience. Where if you ship from Vietnam, the customer probably needs to wait for about more than 20 days. If you ship it and place it with us, based on our algorithm, we can kind of place that inventory in where your customers are concentrating a bit more. Because if you only have, similarly, if you have just one FC in US, and to ship from East Coast to West Coast will delay your click to delivery. So we will base on, like, maybe you have more customers in the West Coast, and we'll move your inventory from East FC to the West FC, for example, and to be closer to the customers beforehand in that sense. And this is where we help the sellers, the merchants, to kind of, because they would not have that kind of insights and data points if they are doing on their own shipping from Vietnam about the customer behavior.
Okay, yeah, very interesting. Thank you. I think there's so many things to discuss, but I think it's worth having here a little pause and maybe opening up to the different set of questions we've received. I think there's been quite a few ones. I'll leave it for you, Julie, to drive this session, please.
Thank you, Youssef. There are many questions. I have one for Ludovic. what are the main internal barriers that you are encountering when implementing projects of transformation based on AI?
The internal barriers, for instance, when you are working with our core business, like metallurgists, like geologists, is okay, we know very well what we have to do. We do it for decades, so thank you, but with your digital tools, we are not really interested in. Some people are like that, others are more interesting. So I would say that the first way is to convince that to test and to say, okay, maybe we can try to use artificial intelligence approach. So come with us. We will make some design thinking workshop. We will discuss of the way you can do differently. What are your pain points? How can we solve your pain points, for instance, using data? And this is what we did, for instance, in metallurgy in Norway and in New Caledonia. And this gave good results. And now, as people, these people are the first ambassadors of digital transformation. The same way for maintenance, for instance, people from maintenance in New Caledonia that tried to use IoT said, okay, it's very good. And now they are the ambassadors for the other maintenance people that are located in France, Sweden, Norway, etc. to say this changed the way to make maintenance in our plants. So use it and you will see the value will be here.
Maybe we have time to take another one. How do you do about to increase skills inside the company? Is there like a specific training plan for all of you?
I can just say that for Eramet, for data science, we are putting in place some certification. We want to make to allow people to be data metallurgists or data geologists. So really to use data like an asset to make better the way they are working. And for that, we are putting in place some certification to be at the first level data scientist when you are making metallurgy or making geology. And after that, we have a data foundry where we have a strong data scientist background people and knowledges for specific projects and topics.
Okay. Maybe Youssef, I can go on. Oh, sorry, you were saying something.
Yeah, maybe I just I can chip in here as well. Yeah, I can just chip in here as well. So I think in Amazon we handle data almost every day. So if not 24 hours a day, so to speak. And I think data query is something that everyone is expected to pick up the skills from. But it's not something that it's kind of easy to kind of write a query. But I think as what just one of the panelists has said, it takes a lot of trial and error to get it right. And it's really through a lot of trial and error to get the signal right, to get the inputs right, so that within the company is always encourage you to write queries, and it's also encourage you to it's okay that you run it a few times, it's wrong, you're not getting the right data points, but as you get along, you get more familiar with what are the signals that you're looking for, you'll get better at it.
Okay.
Thank you,
thank you very much, Bernard. I think we are close to the end of this webinar, so I'm gonna do the wrap up in 2 minutes. So I'm Alexis Duet. I'm a director within Juliette Tarwen. So it was very interesting. Thank you very much to all of you. The current crisis is showing us that our business environment is evolving faster with growing complexity and digital interconnections. It's creating exponential flows and stock of data. So during this webinar, we saw very interesting contributions and viewpoints from different sectors, different countries, different geographies. So thank you very much. It's difficult to summarize all the precious contributions, but I tried to do the exercise, and I identified 3 key points to have in mind regarding data and AI. So first, implement an organization able to move fast. Decision-making, infrastructure, and culture, or mindset, as Ludovic mentioned, are critical. Also, having the right partners make you stronger. So Ludovic took us through Eramet digital and cloud strategy, and the collaboration with some startups for predictive maintenance with IoT, which was very critical during the lockdown period. Secondly, be flexible with your roadmap to adapt it to client needs. An efficient data strategy will help to analyze weak signal of your environment and the evolution of your client needs to enable strategic pivoting, for example. So Bernard showed us client trends in the retail sector, showed us as well Amazon algorithm training and how it helps to understand local client needs. And 3, implement a client-centric use case or use cases that have been previously prioritized. They should flow from your strategy and from the final client or user in some cases. So this path for implementation is strewn with pitfalls. You can get lost in massive data or in AI translation. You can process low quality data. You can develop tech with no value for clients, or even partner with some partners that do some AI washing, for example. So again, in this aspect, for implementation, partners are essential to success. Mossab illustrated it with NLP tech and the AI at scale project he led, designed to optimize Walmart e-commerce search process and client experience. So it was very interesting. To conclude, the Transformation League, or TTL for insiders, is an international network of strategic, innovation, and HR consulting firms. So we cover all continents and assist our clients finding new ways of delivering value with agility and with design thinking approach. We can act as a co-pilot in your project, and especially in the data and innovation fields, covering AI, automation, no-code platform rollout, startup collaboration, and digital transformation overall. So during this webinar, we try to be very concrete with many examples, giving you some takeaways. So I think we succeeded in this target. Thank you so much to the 3 speakers, so Ludovic, Bernard, and Mossab. Thank you to the great facilitator, Youssef, and to the organization team with Julie, Judith. And thank you so much for everybody for your participation. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye.
Bye.